Okay, maybe I start slowly. I have a loud voice. Maybe some people outside will also hear. And those inside will wake up, hopefully, for this last session of today, which I think is a really interesting and important one. So I'm happy that the room is starting to fill and that people are returning, and hopefully that they are also listening and they are still enthusiastic to ask questions for the experts in the coming session. It's about the client and basically the tourist. We heard a lot today about the investment, and in the closing words of last session we heard about return on investment. We heard a lot about the investment side, but if you want to have return, you need somebody who gives you money, and that's the tourist. And so it's good that we talk about the tourist. And also, when I liked really the slides in the previous session with the zero energy pool and the zero energy room. But there was an important thing, at least at the pool. There was this little boy standing with his toys wanting to jump into the water. And without the boy, it's no use to put water in the pool. So I think really it's important to talk about this, and I'm happy to be here and present it, because I think it's a topic that's often neglected in conferences like this, and like not only if you talk about building, but basically in all aspects when you talk about sustainable tourism. So I'm happy it's part of the program, and I'm happy to be here to give you a very short introduction. My background is, I'm coming from a market research or tourism research institute based in the north of Germany, and we care a lot about the tourists, and we basically it's the focus of our work to ask people what they are doing in their holidays and why they are doing this and what they want to do in their holidays. And we have a strong focus also on sustainable tourism development, and like coming from this background of data and knowledge, we try to support tourism strategies of destinations, but also of businesses to help with planning and also help with policy. And because this is very important to us, we are part or member of neXEH, who is also a member of the neZEH network at the neZEH project, and we are really happy to be part of that and like share our knowledge there and discuss things. I'm a figure person, so I cannot resist presenting you at least 5 figures. Here's the first one, why I think it's a good idea to talk about the consumers, and this is because people in Europe care about sustainability. This is from surveys that the European Commission did, I think last year, 2014, and it says 59% of the Europeans think that you should measure progress of a country based on equally on social and environmental criteria and on economic criteria. So not only GDP, but more. The second thing is even higher figure. 75% have a positive attitude towards environmentally friendly products, even if they cost a bit more. So this sustainability issue is there. It's in the head of the customers. But we had the possibility to, at least for Germany, take a closer look concerning tourism, and we see there are these almost or more than half of the population who say, yes, we would generally like our holiday to be sustainable. But the closer you get to actually doing it, the less people we get. So when we say little more concrete, we are really looking for an eco-friendly and socially acceptable holiday experience. We have 19 million, and if you look what's left of the people that for whom sustainability is like a really big issue when deciding on a trip, it's limited to 1 million. This is a small share, but also it's a million. And if we say, look at the European figures, probably in the other countries there are. So it's a big market, but still there is a lot to do, and there is a big gap between attitude and positive attitude towards the topic and actual sustainable behavior. In the study for the ministry last year, we also tried to get connection points, how to stimulate demand. And one big thing is about information and pricing, and the product is also important, but the information part was really the biggest issue. And also, we asked the client or the tourists who they feel is responsible. And they don't point the fingers on others and say they are responsible, but they say it's us on the first place. The others have to do their share as well, but on the first place, it's our behavior with which we can influence and like make tourism more sustainable. So I think this is like hopefully giving a good bridge into what we are going to hear in the next interventions, and also with the roundtable, because I think it shows it's really important to talk to the people. It's important to make sustainable tourism products and efforts towards sustainable tourism and climate-friendly tourism visible, and also understand how the customer and the consumers feel about it. And I'm happy to have such a great group of speakers and people on the podium to introduce to you. And I would say now it's time for me to say enjoy, and it's Helena's job to introduce to you what TripAdvisor does in talking to the customers. Thank you very much.
She's coming. I don't like technology.
And I forgot my business card, so this is the only one you will see, so write it down if you want to get in contact with me.
Too late.
Too late.
So, we put it up when we're doing the panel. I think that's a good idea.
And blame everything on me.
Great, excellent. I'm glad to see quite a few people still in the room. I wasn't sure how many people were staying. So I was asked specifically to talk about Green Leaders program rather than talking about TripAdvisor. But I love dropping in a couple of numbers, just understanding when we talk about where we got with Green Leaders so quickly. At the moment, we're getting 139 pieces of content a minute, that would have been great. A minute, so 2 a second on our site. So 2 pieces of content are landing on TripAdvisor every second. That's pretty amazing. So that's one figure just to keep in mind when you think how could we grow this great program so quickly. So the key thing to understand about Green Leaders, it's not a certification program. It helps travelers to book a greener trip. So we really want to establish something that the travelers are able to look for greener things on accommodations, and the accommodations are able to list them for free. So there we go, 340 million monthly people come to our site. They will be able to see the qualified properties. I've just got updated numbers. We now have 9,000 properties across the 66 countries. We've only recently launched Latin America, Australia, New Zealand, and some other European countries. So we've been very busy of growing the actual program. And it's 100% free for hotels and B&Bs. A lot of text, but the thing was because I understand I speak fast, I try to slow down, and I have an accent because I'm from Finland. But the whole fact was properties wanted to showcase their green practices to millions of travelers. And we launched in 13 even. So we've been live 2 years, which is a very, very short time for a program like Green Leaders. It showcased a variety of eco-friendly hotels and B&Bs. And the key to think, we talked a lot about SMEs across the world. One of the first qualifying properties were actually B&Bs. We had a great partnership with US Environmental Protection Agency, Energy Star program, the Green Building Council, UNEP, and others, which haven't been mentioned here, is Forest Alliance and EarthCheck. So how did we start to grow? It's really important that we didn't just go crazy and go, let's launch this campaign. Jenny Rushmore, who was our former Director of Responsible Tourism, worked very, very closely with all the independent properties. We called B&Bs, we called hotels. We ensured that we have the big chains on board and they understand that this is a green program. It's not a certification. And what we decided to do, which doesn't happen very often, is incorporate the Green Leaders into TripAdvisor mainframe. So we did not want to run a separate program called Green Leaders. It went straight into TripAdvisor, so it benefited of the fact that we were already pretty massive a couple of years ago. We did a lot of CRM and public relations efforts, but really hotels started to talk to one another and saying, hey, this is a great way of highlighting what we're doing in the field of green. And great news, in April at the WTTC Tourism for Tomorrow Innovation Award, we were the winners. And this was really great. I heard a lot on the media day from the other participants, and we were truly excited to win such a prestigious award, being live only 2 years. So we've done pre-launch surveys as well. So we found out that 81% of the travelers, they actually place importance on properties who implement eco-friendly practices. 88% of the US hoteliers, important to know we are a US company, so we started the launch in America. So they indicate they currently have green practices in place, but they don't have an easy channel to display these practices. So Jenny also actually conducted the big research while she was writing her master's. And I know the next slide you're going to go like, oh, really? But if you think of the consumers, they really pay attention to the things they can see. So recycling is a big thing. General green comments, towels and linen. I say this in every conference and people go like, shoot me now. But it really is. It's still a big thing for the consumers because that's what they see. And it's really important for the properties to actually display everywhere in the property what are they doing that is green. Because so many don't do it. Make sure that staff is educated and they actually talk about it. So one thing that came really clear was sustainable food. So if the properties were able to display that the food is locally produced, is a sustainably produced food, the properties were immediately getting higher ratings on our site, and our content gets displayed on 500 million people outside of TripAdvisor. So having a higher rating as a property will help you increase your average daily rate, as a Cornell study that I had to throw in. So what do we do? How do you qualify? How do you get involved in TripAdvisor Green Leaders? We work very closely in every country with governmental institutions, with other parties. We also ensure that we know, do we need extra criteria? Latin America, for example, we have to have 8 different minimum criteria. We have 7 in all the other countries, all the other continent areas. So this online survey takes about an hour to fill in, and every survey is adapted per country. We've got 5 different levels. If a property meets minimum requirements, they only become a green partner with a different logo. But we're constantly evolving these levels: bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. Because if all of a sudden our 9,000 partners are all hitting platinum, clearly, great. The whole sustainability has actually grown within the property sector, and we should be adapting within that. And we also use an independent audit program. We don't do on-site audits. I always get this question, so I preempt it now. We don't do on-site audits. We have independent auditors who are able to, if anyone flags any practices, who are able to then discuss it with the property and request receipts, photos, and so on. So there's a random red circle, ignore that. That's my computer skills. This is how it looks to the consumer. So when a traveler goes to TripAdvisor, they can actually choose that they want to stay in an independent hotel, green hotel, and have free Wi-Fi. This is actually me looking for a hotel in Nice. I didn't stay in the hotel. I'm staying at the Eco Hotel, actually, which is a very interesting hotel here in Nice. So then you have a little thing there showing which level of Green Leader hotel that is. So this is great because you have the popularity index showcasing what is a top hotel in a destination. This helps the hotels that have green practices to actually come on the top if the consumer has chosen, I want to stay in a green property. We really encourage hotels to showcase in hotel promotion. So we want them to place these, so we give them framed certificates, we give them stickers. All of this is free because the way for us to grow a program that's absolutely free and we're not making any money on it is get them to brand themselves and get them to actually talk about their branding. So participant brands include big guys: Marriott, IHG, Kimpton, Hilton, Fairmont, Wyndham, Best Western. You can read all of these brands. This is a big thing for us. We got all these brands to work with us, most from them from the very beginning before we launched. So we had 1,000 partners before we went live with the program. And we're talking with loads of other brands right now. So that's my last slide. I'm very fast, I hope. So it's the largest green hotel program in the world. And we have over 100,000 green reviews. We have done some research on the green reviews. I didn't have enough time to bring that with. Anyone interested in that can get in touch with me. We can put my email up actually later because I don't have it in here. And we're live in 66 countries, and all green practices are publicly viewable for travelers. So traveler doesn't just see that they silver level. When they click on that, they get every single practice that the hotel is actually qualified for. Done.
Less than 10 minutes, it's amazing. Now I hope to hear the example of Montenegro with Jelena. Is she? Yes. Yeah, there she is. Nobody could point you. No. Very good, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon to all. First of all, I would like to thank the organizer for inviting us to have opportunity to present our project on this such important event. I'm coming from Montenegro, a very small country in the south of Europe, and similar like Helena, I am usually speak very fast, so unfortunately for translators, they always have problem in translating. I'm coming from UNDP, actually from Center for Sustainable Development, which is a program jointly implemented by UNDP and Government of Montenegro. We started to work since January 2014, and our mission is to promote sustainable development within in Montenegro within the EU accession context. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Montenegro, but it's really small but beautiful country with many diversities, with high mountains, but beautiful sea and lakes, and beautiful nature. By constitution, Montenegro is ecological state since 1919, and also one of the main economic drivers is tourism sector, and it should be. We have small population, a little bit higher than 500,000, but in 1 year Montenegro was visited, actually per year, Montenegro was visited by more than 2 million of mainly international tourists. All these facts were one of the baselines when we developed a project towards carbon neutral tourism, which is financed by Global Environmental Facility, with total budget of slightly more than 3 million euros for a 5 years period. We recently started with implementation. The focus area is Boka Bay, which is under protection of UNESCO, and Old Royal Capital Cetinje, which is in the process to be protected by UNESCO as a World Heritage. The main objective of the project is actually to reduce GHG emissions from tourism sector. As I said, tourism sector is one of the main drivers of economy in Montenegro. On the other side, we are ecological state, have lots of potential possibilities to develop carbon neutral or low carbon tourism. So that is where we saw opportunities. And how we plan to do it is to promote development and adoption of policies and measures which reduce carbon footprint, to establish sustainable funding mechanism to support low carbon infrastructure, to support development and implementation of major financial investments in tourism infrastructure with low CO2 emissions, capacity building of the key stakeholder and tourism industry, and of course to communicate climate change, to increase awareness and knowledge both of the domestic population, tourism industry, and tourists which are coming. And all in all, to redefine brand of Montenegro as tourism destination. Our partners in these projects are Ministry for Sustainable Development and Tourism of Montenegro as a main partner, and also local authorities which are covering this geographical area. For the donor, this project was quite innovative, and the Montenegro is seen as a global pilot in this area, which, if succeed, could be replicated to another region, Western Balkan countries, but also all around the world. What we see as innovative is actually what we heard today also many times is that we are witnessing a global shift in the way we live and the power our homes and our businesses and economies. So main economic and social benefits for Montenegro with this project, what we see is green reputation of Montenegro to be strengthened, rebranding of ecological state, which can be seen as our competitive advantage, sustainable economic growth which generate export earnings and which can help Montenegro to be more internationally connected, prosperous green businesses, new sources of income, unique and sustainable tourism experience which can bring, which can return our tourists again to come back to destination when they experience this, all these beauties. And of course, innovative strategies to communicate climate change and also to connect with all relevant stakeholders all around the world. The project have 4 main dimensions, let's say. One is related to creation of business environment to attract new investments and financial mechanisms. We will try to help to the local and central authorities to create this environment and to design the policy instruments for this. The second dimension is actually related to facilitation of low carbon investment in transport infrastructure. Third is innovation. With this we mean new carbon offset mechanisms to be developed, both mandatory and voluntary, but also establishment of climate tourism fund, National Climate Tourism Fund, as one of the way of good financial mechanism that can support further activities in this sector and that can provide sustainability. And of course, awareness program, which is related both to the tourism, but also to the tourism industry and also to the policy makers, and knowledge sharing. And what we will invent in Montenegro is that for the first time we will calculate GHG emissions directly from tourism sector based on the combined methodology of the donor, Global Environmental Facility, but also having in mind the best practices and the policies that are coming from EU. Very shortly, I will not speak about all these outcomes, but what we are planning to achieve when we are speaking about favorable business environment. First of all, we are talking changing of the policies or mainstreaming the carbon neutral tourism policies into the main policies in Montenegro, such as national changes or revision of the national strategy for sustainable development, strategy for transport, tourism law, law on spatial planning and construction. Also, what we would like, the expected outcome of the program is that new tourism facilities will be planned, designed and constructed in accordance with international environmental standards. We would like to promote eco-certification of existing and new tourism facilities and to achieve low levels of CO2 emission in tourism sector. We have pretty high for our, having in mind the size of the country and the number of the citizens, high indicators, high goals, which means that at least 200 officially registered tourist facilities will be certified by internationally eco-certified, such as EU Ecolabel or similar, which the country will adopt, and we are now in the process of doing research of the best practices all around the world and to see what could be applied to Montenegro based on our conditions and the situation in the country. Also, we have some goals which are directly related to the level of CO2 emissions that will come from tourism sector, and it is practically the level which we estimated for 2013, which is the baseline, and our goal is to have the same emissions in a period of 20 years after the investments of all these pilot projects that we will do in Montenegro. Within the component 2, which is related to the low carbon investments in transport infrastructure, we will work on so-called sustainable urban mobility plans in these 4 municipalities, which are covered by the project area. This is actually the strategies how the transport could be organized on sustainable way in this municipality, but also between those, and it is based on the European methodology which exists and which is obligatory to EU states. Also, Montenegro is planning to build, and currently the country is developing main design for the cable car Kotor-Cetinje. Our contribution to this project will be to have this cable car as carbon neutral, so based on renewable energy resources. Also, what we would like, our goal is to have at least 25 kilometers of non-motorized transport trails which are approved for funding, and we will have bus stations, airports in bus stations, airports, developed welcome centers with informations about not just the project but all what is related to carbon neutrality in the tourism sector. As each project is actually the goal and the beneficiary of each project is society, what we see is that major challenge for transport sector is to mitigate greenhouse gas emissions. Developing a low carbon society would provide the opportunity to further enhance road safety, but also ease the congestion in summer months and enhance tourism experiences. Maybe the most challenging part of the project is the Dimension 3, new carbon offset mechanism and climate fund for tourism. One of the main goals is to attract investors in Montenegro to invest in tourism, and we believe that with the policy which is more environmental friendly, we can attract much serious and responsible investors. We will have on the project, we will provide around $1 million of grants or so-called co-financing to the pilot projects which will be related to the low carbon tourism. Is it near zero energy hotels or I don't know, solar catamarans or anything different? There are different types of investments and projects, but we will have open call for proposals very soon, where we expect also not just that national companies will apply, but also international companies and investors and other stakeholders. We have one important goal is to establish National Tourism Climate Fund, and our goal is actually to be established and funded and to have annual capitalization of 2 million euros at least. Also, we were talking this today many times about is it possible to have near zero zero energy hotels. What we would like to achieve is we all have our own footprint, but what we can do is, of course, to offset, to compensate what we create. So we would like to, first of all, teach tourism industry in Montenegro and tourists what is their footprint and how they can compensate. They can, I don't know, plant the trees or invest in the tourism climate fund or do other activities which can decrease their footprint, which can actually compensate for what they are creating. Okay, I saw. And the last component, and last but not least, actually I think that it is the most important, is actually knowledge sharing and awareness. Because you can set the system, you can give grants, you can do many activities if the people are not aware why this is important. One is the impact on the environment and the climate change issues, but another is also what we heard many times today is economic benefits. So if the hoteliers understand that investing in energy efficiency, in renewables, they will decrease their costs in the long run, they will be in much better position than now, although they will have additional investments in the beginning. Without that, without tourists which are aware why it's important to be on destination which is eco-friendly, which is low carbon, we cannot achieve all these goals. And as I saw in some previous slides, it was like a puzzle. Actually, all these components is like parts of the puzzle, and it cannot work if all are not together, connected and functioning together. What is very important is also mentioned a few times today when we spoke about energy consumption in hotel is what is the benchmark and how we monitor. For each project, for each activity, you have to know where you are at the beginning and of course to measure development. And for the first time in Montenegro, we will recalculate our baseline, which I said, with the methodology which we will develop during the next few months. And we will, the consultants that we will do that work will teach national institutions, Montenegro Statistical Office and Environmental Protection Agencies, which will continue then to calculate and monitor GHG emissions in Montenegro as official data, and thus we will have sustainability in this manner. In this year, we have a lot of plans. We just started, and mainly I mentioned all these activities during the presentation of the components. What I would like to stress today is that first of all, there are some big activities that we will have in our project, but also what we learned and realized that with some small, no painful, let's say, activities, such as this anti-healing campaign that we are organizing on one cross-border in Montenegro, you can do a lot. So we have that 2.2 million people and 600,000 of cars and trucks drive to Herceg-Novi, one town in the coastal area, which have 40,000 inhabitants each year. So you can imagine how big CO2 emissions this create. As a response to this, we created anti-idling campaign, which was also supported through the Ministry of Interior of Montenegro and Policy Department for the people that are coming through the cross-border to actually turn off their engines for more than 10 seconds while they are waiting. And in this way, we will contribute to the decrease of the GHG emissions, CO2 emissions, with these easily and easy to implement and to realize activities. And second thing that I would like to announce is the first international conference on low carbon tourism in Montenegro, which we will organize on 9th and 10th October in 2015. The conference should offer a forum to discuss and promote low-carbon green tourism, exchange of knowledge, experiences, and best practices. So in Montenegro, we are somewhere at the beginning in this manner. So for us, even attendance on this conference and learning so many things which are happening all around is very important, especially for the people that are working in tourism industry, that are making policies. It's very important to see that this works, and I'm very grateful that today I learned that that based on the examples that you presented, actually low carbon or carbon neutral tourism is not abstraction or utopia. It is actually potential, it is chance, and it can become reality. Thank you very much.
Jelena, please stay in front. And Helena, please come up to the podium. We have 2 microphones there, 2 ladies sitting there, and we have you to ask the questions. So we, as again, not too much time, but like 4 or 5 questions from the audience would be nice if you're interested. So, raise your hands. No questions? Yes, please.
Bonjour, alors je suis Nicolas Cucchietti, je suis étudiant à l'université d'Aix-Marseille. Alors je recommence. Je suis Nicolas Cucchietti, étudiant à l'université d'Aix-Marseille dans le tourisme durable. Et donc j'ai une question pour chacun d'entre vous. La première question à Madame Egan. J'ai vu par rapport au programme la question comment parler aux voyageurs de la durabilité. Et peut-être que j'ai manqué un élément dans la présentation, mais j'ai pas du coup vu la réponse à la question. Et puis la deuxième question que j'ai pour l'autre personne, c'est par rapport, vous avez parlé au niveau de la 3e dimension de tout ce qui est en rapport, vous avez souhaité vous souhaitez par la suite qu'il y ait des investisseurs étrangers qui viennent pour le projet que vous avez présenté. Et quel est l'intérêt de faire venir des investisseurs étrangers? Est-ce qu'il n'y a pas des compétences au sein du pays de Monténégro qui pourraient du coup faire monter le projet au sein du pays, quoi?
Is that on? Yes, so I was actually, yes, the title was interesting, but I was asked to talk about how we spoke to the travelers, so how actually we enable the properties, any size, to highlight to the travelers of what they do for green practices. So being the world's largest travel site, we display all the green practices and they're searchable by using the word green. So it was also to highlight that the word of mouth with hotels and any types of accommodations is pretty amazing. So they all talk to one another. So if there is a nice initiative, get it going with the small properties, any size of properties, and they will make it going. And they'll make sure that they'll shout around about it. So there were two ways of it. So how we help them to talk to travelers and how they highlight their green practices on our site and on their property. So there's a lot of advice coming from two directions.
Thank you very much for the question. Actually, the investors can be both foreign and national, domestic. However, we try to be much as possible real to see the situation. And if we want big investments, unfortunately, we do not have companies in Montenegro which are so big and have so big capacities to make such huge investments. So the practice showed that the big investors are also all around the world much environmental, let's say, friendly. Not all of them, but in this area, we have, for example, in Montenegro, few investors which are investing in activities which belongs to this. They are not completely carbon neutral, but, for example, Orascom which are building a big complex on Luštica Bay, so-called Luštica Bay, or we have Azerbaijans which are investing more than 700 million euros in a big tourism complex. They are, for example, planning to use energy efficiency measures, to use different means of sustainable transport, to invent LEED standards, to use renewables, to use water from the sea for cooling, heating, etc. So we realize that actually our domestic investors do not have capacities to go with such big investments. On the other side, there are luckily some small and medium companies which we should not forget, which are actually base of the Montenegrin economy, which invest some activities in this area. When developing project, we had communication with several hotels in Montenegro, and we were surprised that actually they are investing in some activities which could be considered as a carbon neutral or low carbon. On the other side, what was interesting is that they actually didn't know that they did it because of pure economic reasons. They didn't know that this can be part of the low carbon tourism offer. And that is why I say that it's very important knowledge of public awareness to increase in order to change Montenegro as tourism destination, to rebrand the industry. Thank you very much.
Perfect. I think first we had the gentleman at the back, and then we have the last question over here, and you can just take over and go on to the. Thanks.
Matija Vajdic from Croatian Energy Institute. I was wondering whether you made some calculation of this grant scheme that you said you have for the investments in all this sustainability, energy efficiency. What is the average percentage, and what kind of investments do you expect?
Actually, there are donor requirements when it comes to the grants. We have a few which are obligatory, and which means that the maximum of the grant could be 25% of the total investment, or $200,000, which comes first. Also, it's important how much CO2 emission each proposal will decrease. So this is also one of the requirements. We are in the final phase of setting all requirements and the call. Important aspects would be a number of new green jobs created, but also we will evaluate the innovativity and creativity of the proposal in terms of proposing offset schemes. So not just to have, investments in energy efficiency, but also how they will work with tourists, would they promote voluntary offset schemes, etc. So there will be few criteria. We will have 2 phases for the call for proposals. One will be more call for proposal, and we will go with $600,000 as the first phase. In next phase, we will go more as a challenge, where we will put more attention to the innovativity, creativity, etc. And the one who can apply are private companies, local authorities, NGOs, academias, etc. So all are welcome, more than welcome.
Okay, then the last question.
I'm Stavroula Tournaki from the Technical University of Greece, of Crete. I would like to ask Helena Hagen from TripAdvisor. We heard previously that many people, many tourists, they are very interested for the green profile of the hotels, but when it comes to their choice, this might be not one of the top 3 criteria selecting the hotel. So I would like to ask you if you have any kind of numbers or inputs if sustainability and green profile is increasing in the interest of the actual clients, and if there are some suggestions for the hoteliers that are investing in the area, how to make their customers more conscious and more interesting to their investment.
Yes, we ran a survey before we launched the Green Leaders, but it is 2 years ago. So obviously, every time we ask the question, does it matter to you that the hotel has green? Everyone will say yes. But if you choose between 2 hotels, luxury price, a lot of things still come up in the top. So when we launch our personalization, which where we tag the people so they can put their own tags and we can tag them based on their behavior on the site. It's fairly new program, so it's been live since November, December time. So we are looking into running a research and hopefully soon to look at how many people actually choose the tag green. But having 9,000 properties who have qualified as a green leader property out of the millions and millions of businesses on our site, it's still kind of, when we run any numbers, it has to be robust enough numbers. But there's also a research that Jenny Rushmore did as part of her master's degree that I'm happy, if you give me your card, I'm happy to share some results from there, because 100,000 green reviews also showcase to us it's really the visible things. And that leads me to your second question. It really is making everything visible. Yes, a lot of hotels say we don't wash your towel if you hang it up. But everything, really, like the recycle bins, you may think they're ugly. No, the consumers need to see things. They're not going to go out of their way to look at them, and the staff education is a big thing. So have all your staff kind of make comments on it, have display everywhere where there's water, where there's light switches, have little notes in there telling, because we need to educate the consumer. We say the industry isn't educated, but the consumer needs to want to actually have a greener trip, and I don't think we're there yet. So the more proactively businesses communicate this, and the more big businesses start communicating greener values, I think that's the important thing.
Maybe just to add one good example to add to what Helena said. For example, what I read, that what is important, not just visibility and to have information, but also to act, how you perform, or actually how hoteliers perform. I think somewhere in Barcelona there is a hotel which for each 5 towels which are reused, plant 1 tree. So then I'm personally more motivated to go in that hotel which acts in that way. So it's not just to have everything put like this information in a bathroom, etc., but really to how you act and how you deal. Yeah.
So I would like to share with you more about this, because one of our main concerns when we are working with the neZEH hotels, the pilot cases, is this question: how I can increase my occupancy going to that direction. Okay, I'm motivated, I'm engaged, I invest money and also time, but I think I need also to see that this is reflected to my business. And because the customer is the other part, it will be very interesting to hear about the research that you have.
Well, one of the points I brought out that we did a lot of research of what actually matters to the consumer, and one thing was the food. If it's locally sourced food, if it's sustainable food, that was an immediate thing that jumped at us. And that's something that I think needs to be highlighted even more. And I talked to, I don't think they're here, but they're going to be speaking tomorrow about the project in France to plant more herbs on hotel rooftops and restaurants to really showcase that the food is actually, part of the food is growing in there, in the actual property, which is a great initiative. But one of the things that I know we're taking a lot of time, so I'll send you some pointers, because I could talk so long.
And I think we are not over yet, so the panel discussion is going in the same direction, that we will have people from all different angles looking at the same topic, so I think we can discuss on with the next panel. And now thank Helena and Jelena, and thank you very much. Yeah, that's cool. Thank you very much.
How much time we have? Okay. I have no PowerPoint presentation, but when I was asked to kind of moderate that session, I was not very comfortable, because I know it's a very difficult topic, and I think it's we can see from the discussions here it's not an evidence. What I would like to share just maybe is many people have mentioned and blown the pictures of the Stadthalle Hotel, and we have a video, a news filmed Michaela Heiter in her initiative. And basically what happened in that specific hotel that moved into very low carbon, and that was coincidentally done in the same time we were developing the HS tool, is that for an investment of 500,000 euro, she had an occupancy rate of 60%. Her operation costs were before the investment 7%. The operation cost decreased to 2%, and the occupancy rate jumped to 85%. But the most interesting is that she said that, and she explains in this video, that from 18 staff she moved to 32 staff. And the difference of the staff, the increase of staff, was paid off of the savings for energy management, and half of the staff, meaning almost 6-7 people, 6.5, were dedicated to social media, because she felt that there was really a comparative advantage to be green and to communicate about that. And I think what we have to stress here is that because the green behavior or green attitude is something that is much more closer to one type of generation, you have to adjust and you adopt your marketing tools to that public. You can't be reaching out to certain type of clientele if you go in the daily newspaper of your place or in some magazines, because simply this is not touching the clientele maybe you want to have and that your product might be appealing to. So I think this is a key message. I think that yes, the initiative can create green job, and especially green jobs with the youth and the people, the clients that are the customers of today and the future. And there is no proof, and I think TripAdvisor is a key reference in that, showing that when it comes, and Ulf as well, you were mentioning, when it comes to survey, everything said yes. When it comes to purchase, no interest, or very little. So it's not discouraging for the neZEH front runners that are still sitting in in the room. But what I'm saying here is that we need to be smart in defining and identifying medium of communications or marketing that are different. And still there is a time in the market where there is going to be an uptake and opportunity. So I would not like to deprive my panelists of coming and presenting from their experience. I think that can be extremely enriching because they are practitioners and they are people that are dealing with the issue of marketing their properties, looking at the opportunities of the positioning is. And I would like to welcome the chairman of the Hotelier Syndicate of Côte d'Azur, Monsieur Michel Chan, to share with us his experience.
Merci, thank you. I already talked to you this morning, so I'm not going to repeat what I said this morning. I think I hope I was clear enough. So I won't show you the slides again. You will have to look at me. I'm not as charming as the three previous speakers, so you're out of luck. Ulf, you're very nice too, don't worry. So I will just like to focus on 2 points. One of them was partially covered with our friend from TripAdvisor. And the other one is very, very quickly what we did to try to entice hotels to get into some sort of labelization or some sort of environmental policies. When I say we, as was mentioned, we the president of the local hotels association. I'm also part of the Chamber of Commerce here. And we started about 6-7 years ago to think what can we do, how can we get people to get into this sort of story. Again, the French are not very good on environment. It's only something fairly new. We're not as good as our German friends or our Scandinavian friends. So it was really something a little bit new. The first process was to say, what label are we going to push? And initially we hoped to be able to push one label, to say all the hotels around here are either Green Globe or European Eco-Label or whatever. But then we realized it was very difficult because in our hotels there are some who belongs to chains, and these chains have a policy to be Green Globe or to be European Eco-Label, and we just couldn't put it. So we decided to concentrate on 3, European Eco-Label, Green Globe, and the Green Key, or the Clé Verte in French, because they more or less covered all the needs. And we started with that. We got a little bit of funding from the regional, from the region, the Provence-Alpes-Côte d'Azur region, and we tried to get hotels to get into that. It took a little bit of time. We organized sessions. We tried to get some volunteers. It took 2 or 3 years to get some volunteers. I was one of the first one in my property to have a European Eco-Label, and then others followed, including some very prestigious hotels like the Negresco, which you probably have seen when you arrive. Again, remember that contrary to some new destinations, we have been in the tourism industry for 2-3 centuries, which means that some of the buildings are quite old, and it's always it's more difficult to adapt an old building rather than a new one to environmental policy. So that's how we did, very slowly, because you know the hoteliers, I don't know if there are any in the room, they mostly look what the other guy is doing. If the other guy has a European Eco-Label, he wants one too. So it's a good way to start. As Chamber of Commerce, of course, we helped that, and we participated also in one of the European program, which is called SMILE, which was in the European Mediterranean cooperation, and it involved on the northern side of the Mediterranean Sardinia, so Italy, Greece with the Halkidiki Peninsula, Nice-Côte d'Azur metropolis, and on the south it involved Tunisia, Egypt, and Jordan. Of course, we had a little bit of difficulties with Tunisia and Egypt because they were in the midst of some political problem there. It worked very well with Jordan. The problem is over there, but it got a very, very good exposure. Sardinia is doing some very interesting things, a little bit like what you're doing in Montenegro, and it's really something very interesting that was done. So this is really what I was trying to tell you about what we did, as both as hoteliers and as Chamber of Commerce. The other point I would like to raise was the visibility. Our friend from TripAdvisor has given us a lot of very good insights, because I think it is important. Again, when you ask an hotel to have a policy, to spend money, to invest, it needs a return on investment. And the label is really what to show. And I would say that our Finnish friend was from TripAdvisor was very good in one way. She showed, in many ways, sorry. She showed us, I'm very bad tonight. She showed us in reverse that all the labels that exist are not good enough, because TripAdvisor had more or less to create their own environmental policy. They just couldn't say you have a Green Globe label, it's fine, etc. So we need really to have these labels. There are many, many, many labels. I don't know how many environmental labels there exist in the world, but there are many of them. I mentioned the 3 main ones, which I assume are the main ones. And to be very honest with you, I'm a little bit disappointed with the European Commission. I don't know if there is anyone from the European Commission. I'm going to get killed. Because really, they've done a very good job with but I'll say it very openly, and my apologies in advance. They've done a good job with the European Ecolabel, but it's not promoted. I mean, if you go on the website of the European Ecolabel, try to find an hotel in Montenegro, in Germany, in Finland, wherever in the world, it's almost impossible to find. It's really very badly done. And I believe there is an enormous potential that it should also be exported. Europe is a very nice union. We're very proud to be in the European Union. It's, after all the wars that have been going on in Europe, it's very, very good improvement. We're all very, very pro-European. But still, why isn't it exported? Why is Europe in Asian hotels, in American hotels, why shouldn't they have a European Ecolabel? Why are we afraid of ourselves? Europe is a major actor in the world. There are other actors in the world. I'm not saying we're the best. I'm not trying to resuscitate the colonies of the 19th century, but we should export it. It should be all over the world, not only in Europe. And even in Europe, we should put more emphasis on it. Because again, the client is going to recognize that label. If I tell you I have an environmental policy in my place, you'd say, okay, fine, yeah, okay, he reuses the towels, it's nice. But you really have to go beyond. And we need that label. Green Globe is doing a very, very good job in promoting itself. They spend a lot of money on it. They spend a lot of money. If you go to any trade show, there is a Green Globe representative there. Originally, as you know, it was Australian. Once it's been bought by the American run it as a business. And the business, they need to have clients, they need to make money. So really, the visibility is very important. Again, I'm very grateful to TripAdvisor for what they've done. And incidentally, the hotel they showed, the Florence in Nice, is very original in as much as they have some bees on the top of the hotel and they make their own honey. So that's one of the little gimmicks that can be put forward. But really, we have to work on this visibility. We have to improve it. We have to make sure that our clients recognize it. And we have also, again, and I said that this morning, I'm going to repeat it, to train our staff. Because there's nothing worse that if you have a nice waste bin, one for glass, one for paper, that they saw the staff putting everything in the same bag and putting. You laugh, but it happens. I'm not sure it doesn't happen in my place either, to be quite honest with you. But really, that is important. So again, these were the 2 little topics I wanted to talk to you about this evening. I know it's the evening. I know you all want to leave very quickly, and I think it's also important that we can get a few questions. Thank you.
Si vous voulez, ou si vous préférez attendre et vous allez tous ensemble comme vous. D'accord. Mr. Chan, I will totally support your idea of promoting the eco-label, because what we have to remember is that in terms of international tourism, outbound tourists, the biggest number in the world comes from Europe. So they would feel home anywhere would they. Yeah, I'm not speaking about tomorrow, but I'm saying that they would feel comfortable seeing a label they can recognize. Let me call now to Fiona from Travel Life. I think that we're going to have some interesting insights on the experience. It's a very well-known brand. And I think that amongst hotelier and the sector, it's a very attractive, I can say, system to comply with or to identify yourself. Fiona, please, the floor is yours.
Hi, I'm Fiona from Travel Life. I'm one of those other labels. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Travel Life and what we are, what we do, and then I'm going to talk to you about the way that we promote Travel Life and our members, who are the most important thing about Travel Life, our hotelier members. So, we are an internationally recognised sustainability certification scheme for hotels and accommodations, for big hotels, for small hotels, for micro hotels. We reach across the spectrum. We offer a step-by-step process for implementing a sustainability programme within a property, which if the hotelier who's being audited achieves all the requirements of the Travel Life standard, then they'll achieve a certification award, which you'll see in the corner there. We cover the whole spectrum of sustainability rather than just environment eco. So we look at the way a property is managed across the different sustainability principles of environment, community and supply chain. We also have a focus on guest communications. We have different versions for different types of properties, so a version for big, a version for medium-sized, and I'm currently working on developing a version for small and micro accommodations, which is very exciting given the figures that we were given earlier about 91% of hoteliers being small or micro. All our audits are performed by third-party auditors on site. So we're absolutely certain when we certify a hotel or an accommodation that it really is doing what it says it's doing on its self-assessment form. We have around 1,200 members in about 43 countries across the 5 continents of the world, which is great. Okay, so now I'm going to talk to you about, if you want to know more about Travel Life, by the way, I'm going to be around next couple of days, and if you want to grab me to talk to me about it, please do. I'm very happy to talk about it. I'm now going to talk about sort of the way that we encourage our hoteliers to promote themselves once they've got a Travel Life Certification Award. When they get certified to Travel Life, we provide them with a plaque, which you can see in the middle there. They are invited to use the Travel Life brand and the certification mark in all their marketing, on their websites, in their guest communications, etc. We also have something called the Travel Life Collection, which is an online consumer brochure for our certified hotels. So the hotel who is certified can put their details up on their collection website, talking about their sustainability attributes, you know, what they're doing on the environment, what they're doing in terms of working with their local community, how they purchase locally, etc. So that guests who are, or potential guests who are looking for sustainable hotels are able to actually find them. Another thing that we do, which makes us unique to any other sustainable tourism certification scheme, is that we are the only scheme that works with all the big tour operation brands across the world, not just in the UK. We are a UK-based company, subsidiary of ABTA, which is the UK Travel Trade Association. But we also work with Thomas Cook in Germany, Thomas Cook in Belgium, TUI in the Netherlands. You can see some of the TUI brands down there, the Netherlands TUI brands down there. We also work with hotel brand, Cosmos, Kuoni, all across the world. And they use Travel Life in their brochures. This is a few examples from, as you can see, we've got some funny different marks. We've actually recently moved from having 3 different levels of Travel Life to actually just one at the moment, which is the gold standard. So please don't be confused by those different icons that you can see. But so you can see that TUI Holidays Forever is their sustainability program, and you can see that they're explaining about Travel Life, and then when they're displaying a hotel in their brochure or on their website, they are saying it's a Travel Life Gold awarded property. Same for other tour operators that we're working with. We're also working with online travel agents like Expedia and Booking.com, who also promote certified sustainable properties, and they highlight Travel Life awarded properties on their websites. We're also moving into consumer communications in a big way. We spent an awful lot of time over the last 10 years trying to raise awareness within the travel industry about travel life and the benefits to hoteliers and why get involved in sustainability, etc., which is great. Working with destinations so that they can use travel life to incorporate it into their spatial plans or whatever, sort of whatever it is that the destination is trying to achieve, hotel associations as well. But we're now recognising that actually consumers are key, not just in terms of helping hotels to obviously remain economically sustainable by going and actually staying in them, but also in terms of getting hoteliers to see the benefit of being involved in certification in the first place. Because if they see that if they see that guests come to their hotels because they are more sustainable, then they're more likely to engage more deeply in sustainability management in the future. So this is an example of one of the campaigns. This is very new. It's going live in July. We're working with the Travel Foundation in the UK to promote Make Holidays Greener Month. So in July, we try and get as many hotels that are Travel Life members as possible, or not Travel Life members. If they want to join us, I don't mind. It's all about sustainability. To do beach cleans, to get their guests involved, to get their local community involved, local businesses, all come together to clean up the beach near them, and then report on how much rubbish they've collected, how many bags, how many plastic bottles. Plastic is a big thing this year with this campaign. So we've got the left-hand slide is the front end of the Make Holidays Greener website. We've got tools on the website for the hotels. So what do you do when you organise a beach clean? What do you do to prepare? What do you do on the day? How do you publicise it? How do you get people motivated and interested, etc.? And then we've got another section of the website that's about holidaymakers, and sort of just encouraging holidaymakers to have a look at the website. There's a lovely sort of map on the website that tells holidaymakers about where all these beach cleans are happening. Are they happening near you, sort of thing, when you're going on holiday? If so, why don't you get involved? So that's it's a whistle-stop tour in terms of communications. I'm obviously very happy to answer any questions that anybody has about sort of the way that we communicate sustainability. But what I will say is that we don't have all the answers. I don't think anybody does. This is one of the most difficult areas of sustainability, is the consumer piece, but it's the most important. And I think by working together in collaboration with all the people that are in this room and beyond, in order to generate powerful messages that reach out to the consumer, is what we need to do from here on in. That's me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please. Thank you, Fiona. I think it was really enlightening. It is an additional element and food for thoughts. And I think it's the reputation of Travel Life is really something that is growing and positively. Now I have the pleasure to call on Anja Nievera, Director General of Limburg region, and I think that the remark of our colleague from UNEP this morning announcing that the Netherlands government is putting some pressure, that's a good introduction, I think, for you.
Yes.
To eventually see how you're going to overcome that challenge.
Is my presentation on? Are you still able to manage another presentation? Because in my country, there would be no one in the room anymore. We would have left all for the beach. But anyway, I'm talking to you about how an old destination with very small SMEs works on sustainable tourism. Because they were talking about SMEs. The lady from the Basque Country, she said, I'm a small hotel. I have only 120 rooms. Well, we are talking here in my region, 70% of the people sleeping in my region are in hotels with less than 20 rooms. So how? And that's, I believe, the majority of the tourists sleeping in Europe. I guess even 70% are sleeping in accommodations with less than 20 rooms. And we're not achieving to get to them. they are not sustainable at all. Or they have a passion to it, but they are the little ones. So I'm talking about those. But first, where do I come from? I come from Holland, indeed, but from the part of Holland that became Holland after Waterloo. So we have 200 years Waterloo, we became Holland after Waterloo. We were Germany and France before. So we are in the center of Europe. Maastricht is our capital. It's a city where Europe was born, where our euro was born. And so we are like this. Everyone has an image of a flat Holland. Well, we are not flat. We have hills, we have almost mountains. And we are very proud of them. And that is, these little mountains are the reason why we have become the most popular tourist destination in the Netherlands. We have more overnights, we have 81 beds per square kilometer. Our region, capital region, North Holland, Amsterdam, has 42 beds per square kilometer. So you imagine how many beds we have per square kilometer. Because of our hills, because we are so different, and because Europe was always in war, and during that war we were safe. So we became, when tourism started 150 years ago, we became famous in Holland, because we were those crazy people speaking German, but still Holland and still safe. Well, facts, our size is the one of Nice. So a little bit, the bigger Nice is our size. But in that size, we make 1.2 million turnover in tourism. We have 37,000 people working in tourism. We have almost 30 million day tourists visiting from Germany and Belgium and from Holland. That's a lot on 25 square kilometers. And why do all these people come? Because of our landscape. So our landscape is our asset. And our culture, of course, which we cherish. And we have 5 million overnights, 87% Dutch. So that's why no one knows us in this area here. We are a so-called domestic destination. We have those Dutch people that like to stay, one says, in a sustainable hotel. I don't believe that. I think Dutch people look first at the price. And then when they go further down, when it's green too, then it's okay too, but will not ever, for a Dutch person, the minority maybe, but the majority looks for the price first and the location. And then further down, if it's green, okay, that's nice too. It's my opinion. Well, I believe also acting sustainable as a hotel is only credible in a region that acts sustainable. When I was walking the beach this morning, there was plastic floating in the sea. I thought, well, that immediately when you go to certain countries and you have plastic floating on the beach, it was just one bag, so was not that much. But if you have hundreds bags of plastic floating in your sea and you're staying in a full green label hotel, you don't have a green feeling as a person. So your region has to be sustainable, or at least give the feeling of sustainability. And that's what we try to do as a tourist board. First, I think it's important to have not coming all the people at the same time. The last 20 years we did a lot of work to have 4 seasons in South Limburg. Because when you have all them coming all at the same time, they will not have the feeling of being special. And prices go up and you get too much water use at the same time, etc., etc. So first, work for 4 seasons. Have them come in special periods. And we did well, because the Christmas period now, we had 20 years ago, we had 80% of our overnights in June and August. Now we have more overnights in December as in August. So we did a good job in turning seasons. Then as a region, have your 4 A's act in harmony. The A of an area. We do not, for example, and that looks a little bit strange, in our special landscape we do not want to have windmills there, because we think they industrialize our landscape. They take away the feeling of being in full nature. That's a choice. We have in Holland our windmills on industrial sites, not there where tourism is made. It's a choice. Then the access. Make sure you're accessible by public transport, etc., and that all is arranged. And that your routes, your walking routes, do not go through sensible areas. Think about where do I do what. That's what we did. Then attractions. Have also attractions that go with your area. Accommodations, and then we come to the accommodations, the topic of this meeting. Then the third action for a region is give you the good example yourself. South Limburg, for example, is the only region in the Netherlands that is participating within ETIS. ETIS is the European Tourism Indicator System. Amsterdam, the city of Amsterdam is also in it, but we are the only region. And we promote that we are in it. Everywhere where we come, we say we are working on a sustainable position. Guests should know that. And then fourth, give your businesses some support, and that's why it's red, because I'm going to talk about that more, and communicate to guests and to businesses. So how did we support those small accommodations, those papa and mama companies, where father and mother are working with 2 or 3 people, trying to survive, not able to read mails, not able to do anything, working till late at night, cleaning the whole stuff? How did we manage how do you manage to get them sustainable? First, we did some research by our own neZEH University and asked them, what would be possible for you? What could you change within your financial possibilities, with your time, with your scope, with your future you want to achieve? Actually, what is possible? Not those big schemes. They cannot even read some documents. Not because they're not smart enough, but because it's a language they don't understand. They are different in their approach. They are busy with their guests all day. So from that research, we went to the Cologne Business School in Germany. Cologne is just 45 minutes. So when you think why Cologne? Because they are close and they are good. And Germany, I know, I respect Germany very much. So they developed a handbook, very concrete, about how to choose lamps, about what can you do with your toilet. Very concrete things, but with figures, it will save you so much. We focused on money, because I think that is what small companies really read. How much can I save? It's about money. And then we offered incentives. I said those who are willing to become more green, they get special things from the tourist board, things that are on their language. For example, a funding program for solar energy points for e-bikes. So then they can profile themselves with something that goes with their size. And then we gave visibility. We're now resetting our new website, restyling it is called, and those who are more green get a better position. They get better search results. They get profile. They are like the best children of the class we show. And then there is the AIDA communication. It goes about awareness, interest, desire, and action. We give awareness to them, and we give the awareness to our region, etc. But I'm passing the 5 minutes, so I will not talk about it anymore. This is our little handbook. That's very concrete thing, about 60 pages with just hands-on things. This is what you, small hotel, B&B, or just holiday cottage can do to get more sustainable. And maybe one day we will make a label of it. We will see. Thank you.
Very inspiring. I think several people in the room took note of how best to proceed with small places, and passion as well is there. So now for a few minutes, I think we have the time to take questions, if any in the room. Yes? You have the microphone? You take this one.
Michaela from Austria. I have just a brief question from a consumer point of view. To me, I didn't know very much about the labels, and so I've heard quite a lot about different labels today, and I wondered, is there actually competition between the different labels? Because I get a feeling that there is. And is that not confusing for consumers?
Is there competition? Well, we're all businesses. So there's bound to be some competition, but we at Travelife are very committed to working in partnership. For example, we work with Rainforest Alliance in South America, who recognise the Travelife standard, and we recognise the Rainforest tourism standards. So if any of their hotels want to be co-branded with Travelife and Rainforest once they're certified, then they're able to do that. And we are very keen to explore other opportunities. And I'm interested that you said that you didn't hear too much about the labels themselves. I'm not sure the consumer's that interested. I think what the consumer's looking for are things that will make their holiday experience great. So they're looking for things that will make them feel good when they're on holiday. They're looking for things that are going to interest their children, that are going to give them a new insight into a destination. That's what they're looking for, rather than a sustainability label per se. Although with a sustainability label like Travelife, yes, we require that our hoteliers manage their environmental, energy impacts, etc. But we also require that they tell their guests about the local community, that they communicate with their guests about you can use public transport, you don't have to take taxis everywhere, this is what you need to do. This is a really great vineyard, for example, where we source our local, where we source the wine in our restaurants. You can go and visit this. So I think it's actually more about it goes beyond communicating a logo. I think sustainability does. Obviously, if we were in a position where there was just one sustainability logo, that would be fantastic, because then it would be easy. But actually, that's not the case. There are many doing something similar but different. So really, it's kind of working collaboratively and trying to reach out to the consumer in a way that they can actually apply it to their holiday. Okay, so this is going to make me feel good about my holiday. This is going to make me feel like I'm doing something different. I'm going to have a different experience. My kids are going to learn. It isn't just going to be about lying on a beach, kind of maybe skirting the periphery of a destination, perhaps.
Any other question?
I just have a comment about the confusion about the green labels for guests is not so bad, because they care about the experience. But on the other side, confusion about labels is very bad for hoteliers, because they are looking so much for advice and suggestion when they want to go green, they don't know where to go. So you said that you're traveling for guests, you are working for guests, but are you working also for hoteliers? How are you informing them?
Okay, I hope my colleagues will also jump in too. Yes, we spend an awful lot of time working with our hoteliers. Travelife has developed a sort of a suite of support materials that help our members to actually understand and implement aspects of the Travelife standard. We're about to look at the communications aspect as well, so that our hoteliers actually have a toolkit that they can apply in terms of promoting their green attributes. As the lady from TripAdvisor said, I think it's really important to kind of reach out. Yes, it's hard for hoteliers. Which is the right scheme for me? I mean, we, as I said, with Travel Life, we're in a very lucky position because we work with tour operators who send people to destinations via package holidays. We do also work with a lot of independent hotels, having said that, who are just looking for a label to, a way of, highlighting that, they're sustainable. And a lot of hoteliers come to us because we are very competitive in terms of what we charge. We're a business, but we're not set up to make profit out of what we do, if you see what I mean. So effectively, we run a little bit like a social enterprise in that we try not to have cost as a barrier. So that's why a lot of our hoteliers will come to us, because we're not as expensive as things like Green Globe, which is a very good system, I have to say, or EarthCheck, also a very good system, but extremely expensive. And it can be so much of a cost barrier, particularly to small SMEs who just don't have the money to spend. They don't have thousands to spend on certification.
If I may add, it all depends where you're located and the type of property you have.
Yeah.
Green Globe, to just make you laugh for 1 second, has a question, which is, did you steal the land on which the property is built? And I mean, I wish I had done that, but I haven't. And in most European countries, you just cannot steal the land. It's a question which is adapted maybe to other continents, but not to Europe. In Europe, even if I wanted to, if I go to Limburg and I try to steal the land, I will be in jail very quickly. It's a civilized country, and it will be the same in Britain or in Germany or in wherever country. So you really have to adapt to where you are. And as I try to say, and it will depend again on the country you're in, the local unions, the associations of hotels and the chambers of commerce, or sometimes political bodies, whether it's the region or it's the what we call a département in French, would also help you on that. But really, and the local hotelier, whether he's small or large, whether he's in Limburg in Britain or in France, needs some outside help, and it has to be provided on a voluntary basis, on a free basis, but then also he has to do a little bit of work.
Yes, Stravola.
Working with the neZEH pilot cases in the steps that we wanted to identify and engage them, we noticed that the ones that have a label are the ones that were more eager to listen and more easily to commit. Actually, some of them are members of Travel Life. I want to ask how much and how energy efficiency criteria are integrated to your entry criteria. And the second question is if you have any information about your members, if they are going to perform something further than your entry criteria in the energy field, which is what we deal.
Travel Life covers energy management. At the moment, we're just operating with the gold standard. So we require that our hoteliers have an energy management plan in place. They have to set targets, indicators. They have to monitor and measure. We require them to present their monitoring information in a variety of ways, particularly in kilowatt hours per guest night. However, we also are in the process of launching, and this is going to come, I think, maybe in about 6 months, actually, into the market, the Award of Excellence, which actually takes energy management up to a much higher level, where energy audits will be required, rather than just having, sort of a fairly, I would say, light touch, but I know that some of my hoteliers would disagree because they're working very hard on this. But it requires a formal building management approach. It's very, very much more involved. The targets are far more challenging, and we also require that the hoteliers actually present carbon savings and CO2 tons saved, etc. Which is the same thing. Anyway, so yes, we look at this area. This is an area that, having been at this conference, actually, this has been extremely enlightening for me as a technical specialist, because I've become aware of things that my hoteliers are going to be faced with, that we need to do something, we need to respond to. And this is a massive area. The neZEH directive, oh my goodness, that's huge. So that's, and I'm very excited about the things that I've heard of the different partners here today, because I think, you know, those are great opportunity to kind of link up and, you know, kind of signpost our members to some of these great initiatives.
Thank you very much. I just would like to add one last word about Travel Life. I think that in TripAdvisor, we have noticed that when you speak about food, and locally produced food is really a comparative advantage and really high on the perception of the client. It's all about perception and comfort. And I think that Travel Life is one of the schemes where this part in terms of supplies to the property is very highly taken into account. So it's more holistic than just energy efficiency or water. It's going like, it takes account of the whole chain around the sector, and I think that is quite remarkable. So I think that anything you would like to add? No? From Germany, Netherlands, or Lindbergh? No? So I will, I think that it's time to close, and I think it's warm in the room, and I think we will be happy to go out. So do we need, tutors, are you coming to, no, it's, Stéphane, tu viens faire un petit wrap-up, non? Parce que c'est sur le programme. On va le laisser faire 2 minutes en français, comme ça personne n'écoute. Non, je rigole. I'm joking. Mais oui, please, you can, if you want to go back. Et t'as un petit cœur là.
Mais je vois bien.
Ah.
Merci aux panélistes. Tu veux faire la clôture ou je dis? Vas-y, c'est dans le programme. Vas-y.
So thank you because you are here, and I'm going to speak for 2 hours if it's possible. I will try. Dessert encore. So just 1 minute, and after that I think that Stefan will close it. Some things which were for me very important on behalf of neZEH. First of all, it seems that although this is a project, we participate 10 bodies, it seems that we're in correct line. It seems from this discussion, for me this was very, very important. The second issue that a major lesson for us is that we have to be pragmatic what we do. For me, as an academic, I'm trying always to cut the academic profile just to keep the technical, to find solutions. And yes. The other one is that for sure we're happy working with SMEs. This is our target. This is continue. We hope to have a follow-up of neZEH with our colleagues here, and this is correct target. We need to. It's important to help them, but in parallel, we need some policies to be oriented towards this issue. I mean, you cannot have a policy, for instance, supporting economically or financing the country's activities without taking into account that should be somehow near zero. My last sentence is the following. In 3.5 years, all new public buildings should be near zero. And after 5.5 years, all private. That means all new hotel buildings, what according to the directive we know now, okay, is after. So it's tomorrow. Tomorrow we plan a new business plan. So we have to include that our new business plan in the business sector, in the hotel sector, in Europe, should be taken to this issue. I think this is a key issue, not only for the hotel sector, but also for the engineering companies and the consulting companies who work with them. They should work on this direction. There is no other solution. This is the target. So, as I told in my presentation, the future is now. Thank you.
Bon, alors, tout d'abord, merci. Et puis, c'est le mot de la conclusion pour aujourd'hui. Vous avez tous compris que demain, on va tous se retrouver. Malheureusement, certains d'entre vous vont partir. Mais néanmoins, pour ceux qui resteront, on va élargir une fois de plus le débat, mais on l'a déjà fait un peu aujourd'hui, puisqu'on va parler de l'environnement construit au sens un peu plus large, mais tout en continuant à faire le lien entre bâtiment, territoire, énergie, mobilisation des acteurs, parce qu'on a tous bien compris aujourd'hui, mais vous le saviez tous, et on l'a juste réalisé et remis en perspective dans le cadre de l'hébergement touristique, que très clairement, ce n'est qu'une mutualisation de compétences qui fera que l'aventure aura un sens. Donc ça, c'est déjà très clair. Alors, pour être un peu protocolaire, mais néanmoins c'est important, je tiens quand même à apporter quelques remerciements. Parce que cette journée est restée assez dense, il a fait très chaud dans la salle, mais néanmoins tout le monde a survécu, et ce qui prouve qu'on s'est adapté, mais bon, en surfroid. Alors je tiens à remercier d'abord la Commission européenne qui nous a donné l'opportunité, j'ai envie de dire l'alibi de nous réunir, qui est quelque part assez important, mais néanmoins, merci, parce que les programmes européens sont des véritables trésors d'opportunités pour mutualiser des compétences et des partenariats qui, des fois, ne se feraient pas. Il y a des partenariats historiques et amicaux, mais l'air de rien, le SMILE dont parlait M. Chan, le premier SMILE, parce que vous avez connu le SMILE 2, le premier SMILE, c'était un projet LIFE, donc merci à l'Europe, et j'en étais d'ailleurs le team leader, donc je le connais très bien, et il y avait Alphéis ou d'autres, donc on a eu toute une histoire, et on a créé cette aventure. Et donc voilà, il y a toujours une histoire et l'Europe a contribué à beaucoup de ces aventures. Donc il faut néanmoins la remercier et lui dire qu'elle continue à alimenter ce type de projet. Et peut-être demain aller, par exemple, dans la suite de ce projet-là, aller aussi sur un lien avec le carbone et le climat, qui n'est pas encore assez présent, parce qu'il y a une dynamique et, rappelons-nous, il y a un joyeux agenda international qui nous rappelle des urgences, à savoir le climat, l'atténuation certes, mais l'adaptation pour nos amis du Sud et le développement global, en particulier pour nos amis du Sud. Donc ne l'oublions pas, et donc merci à la Commission européenne. Bien évidemment, j'ai envie de dire merci aux complices du projet. On a souffert pour organiser cette conférence parce qu'on n'est pas dans un milieu d'hôtelier ici. Et je dois dire, ma collègue, en particulier Philippine, et puis l'équipe a beaucoup souffert, je le dis, souffert, on peut les applaudir. Je ne vais pas dire que j'ai souffert aussi, mais on a souffert, mais ils ont souffert. Et particulièrement Philippines, parce qu'on souffre tous quand on a une petite équipe, mais néanmoins on a souffert parce qu'on a essayé de marier finalement un intérêt qui a d'ailleurs pas toujours été compris, même des fois dans nos discussions internes ou autres, entre des acteurs du bâtiment, des acteurs de la ville et le lien avec le tourisme. Et pour moi, il est juste évident, mais il a fallu néanmoins convaincre, expliquer. On a tous mis un peu des efforts parce que vous avez vu, je vous l'ai dit, on va être tous broadcastés, donc on est en live, on a eu pas mal de tweets. Moi, je vois un peu des réponses par rapport aux gens qui nous suivent, mais je ne vois pas les autres, mais j'imagine qu'il y en a pas mal. Tout à l'heure, je le disais à Jean-Pierre, on a eu, nous, plus de 200 et quelques réponses, ce qui est quand même assez intéressant. Donc voilà. Donc du coup, ça veut dire que les gens vont écouter, ça va être mis en ligne sur notre site, sur le site du projet, sur le site de la francophonie, je vais dire un mot ensuite, bien sûr de la Commission européenne, de Build Up et d'autres acteurs comme Éco-Construction 21 dont on a parlé ou autre. Donc très clairement, c'est intéressant parce que les gens vont le revoir. Et ensuite, au-delà de ça, on va en faire des coupures, des captures. Et voilà, il y a des petites interviews qui ont été faites aussi. Donc tout ça veut dire que l'histoire ne doit pas être figée parce que d'autres personnes doivent entendre, même s'ils connaissent, mais néanmoins se réapproprier des sujets transversaux. Premier point. Je voudrais aussi remercier d'autres acteurs que vous avez vus, on a conviés ici. Évidemment, Innovative City, parce qu'ils ont été quand même bienveillants avec nous, je vous le dis. Économiquement parlant, malgré toutes les aides qu'on a pu avoir, ça ne passait pas. Donc je rends très clairement un petit clin d'œil amical, même si je ne l'ai pas encore vu, mais à Christophe Réry, qui est le président d'Innovative City, qui nous a quand même bien accueillis et qui nous a aidé à faire passer l'addition parce qu'elle ne passait pas. Malgré les additions des uns des autres, ça ne passait pas du tout. Donc très clairement, il l'entendra rétrospectivement, mais je tenais à le dire. Donc il nous a bien aidés. Et alors après, mes deux complices extérieurs, qui sont le Programme des Nations Unies pour l'environnement, vous avez vu Arabo Bala qui était là, Alors, il va revenir avec nous ce soir pour ceux qui sont à la Villa Masséna, et d'autres iront pour le très charmant cocktail qui nous est proposé par Travel Life pour continuer la discussion. Donc le programme des Nations Unies pour l'environnement, on a réussi à les associer pas simplement pour neZEH, mais aussi pour la journée de demain, et puis pour la suite, d'accord. Et vous avez vu qu'il y a des liens et qui sont tout à fait au cœur du sujet, parce que le programme décennal a une partie tourisme, mais il a aussi une action bâtiment. Et on a tendance à l'oublier, mais on parle souvent de la même chose. Et dans cette initiative bâtiment et construction durable, il y a déjà eu des actions en pays francophones. Il y a eu à Lomé l'année dernière, avec l'école des métiers de l'architecture et de l'urbanisme. La francophonie était du trio. Et une deuxième action qui a eu lieu à Rabat aussi. Évidemment, quand on questionne le bâtiment, on questionne tout le bâtiment. Et le petit clin d'œil aussi, c'est que Énergie 2050 est dans le Multi-Stakeholder Advisory Committee de cette grande initiative. Donc on est assez enthousiasmé et très honoré. Mais l'air de rien, on est dans l'aventure avec toute l'équipe. Alors là, c'est la Finlande qui gère l'initiative. Donc on fait un petit clin d'œil au PNUE parce que ce sont des agitateurs aussi et qui font des bons travaux, en particulier sur les méthodologies carbone. On n'a pas eu le temps de trop en parler, mais demain on en parlera. Et puis le dernier clin d'œil, qui est un clin d'œil à la fois amical et puis à la fois aussi pour nos amis francophones qui sont restés quasiment tous jusqu'au bout, c'est pour l'Institut de la francophonie pour le développement durable que vous avez déjà vu à la tribune. Et je crois qu'on en parlait tout à l'heure avec le représentant d'EASM de la Commission européenne qui disait cette contradiction que certains des fois même on se posait des questions, a dit mais c'est juste intéressant. Parce qu'effectivement, si on est co-sanguin, on raconte des choses, on a un métalangage qu'on comprend tous. C'est vrai que, mais dans une réalité de mise en œuvre, il y a d'autres réalités, qu'on soit au nord ou au sud, d'autres réalités, et c'est pas facile. Donc c'est bien d'avoir des grands concepts, mais eux, ils sont confrontés à d'autres réalités. Nous aussi parfois, peut-être pour les hôtels du moyen, du haut pays ou d'autres, mais l'air de rien, on n'est pas tous dans un truc où on a 95% de remplissage, on n'est pas tous avec une planification territoriale, on est dans un monde réel où c'est un peu plus délicat. Et la francophonie, vous l'avez compris, elle a des outils, elle apporte des innovations, elle apporte du lien. Et là, je vous l'ai dit, on a quasiment 20 pays qui sont là, grâce à eux. Donc, le PNUE a participé un peu, mais grâce à la francophonie. Donc je pense que tout le monde mérite très largement sa salve, j'ai envie de dire, d'applaudissements. Et puis juste de se constituer en se disant, demain, soyons complices et avançons ensemble. Voilà, sur ce, on va clôturer ce merveilleux débat et on va se dire à demain pour ceux qui restent. Certains iront au cocktail, et j'aurais bien aimé dans les deux endroits, mais je n'ai pas encore un don d'ubiquité, mais mes collègues seront d'un côté, moi je serai de l'autre. Et puis ceux qui vont à la Villa Masséna, qui ont eu des invitations, on ira ensemble tout à l'heure. Voilà, je vous remercie et puis on clôture la session ce soir là-dessus. Merci beaucoup. Pardon. Excusez-moi. Parce que d'abord, vous avez dû remarquer, leur logo est sur la plaquette. Ils nous ont fait des conditions, ils ont participé aussi à ce qu'on puisse tout payer, parce que je vous l'ai dit, on explose le budget, donc c'est très clair. Donc pour nous, c'est un peu délicat, parce qu'on a carrément explosé le budget. Et donc ils nous ont fait, on les a remerciés par le logo, mais très clairement, je tiens à le souligner. Alors, merci de me l'avoir appelé, c'est juste de la fatigue, là. Que c'est presque un truc de béotien, ça, c'est inadmissible. Et enfin, nos collègues qui font le broadcast, qui nous ont filmés, qui vont nous remettre les bandes ensuite pour qu'on les utilise libre de droit et ainsi de suite sur toutes les plateformes possibles. Donc merci à nos équipes traducteurs et puis aussi aux gens qui ont fait le broadcast.